you've got a piece about extremists in law enforcement and the military, but I'm old enough to remember when President Obama was president and his secretary of Homeland Security was Janet Napolitano, and they put out a document, a press release where they admitted that there was an extremist problem in the military and ex-military, and they got so criticized by the right they had to walk it back. That I'll never forget, because there was a problem then and it's 10 times worse now, or 100. I don't know how you want to put it, but you've got this great, well-researched piece where you interviewed a whole bunch of experts. What did you learn? Tell me a little bit about it. People should go read it.
Yeah, this piece came out in particular last month, where we were talking about the rise of extremists in law enforcement and the military. And this was coincidentally right before this latest reporting came out that showed the Oath Keepers, specifically the ADL, examined the Oath Keepers membership list and found at least 300 plus active members in law enforcement and people in the military. And so that's the funny thing. Like, my dad called me today. We were just talking, and he was just like, everything you've said has come out to be true, and you're right. And dumbasses instead like succeed. Why? I'm like in Ellie Mistel one time, and I joked on Twitter. It's like, if we really wanted to go supernova, we should be aggressively and consistently wrong about everything. And so this is one of those situations where we've been calling this out. Like, you who will watch The Watchmen? And the Oath Keepers, for those who don't know, it's this far right hate group that took part in the unsuccessful coup. The leaders of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys are currently being tried. The trial is going on right now for seditious conspiracy against the United States of America. And there are members of our law enforcement, active law enforcement, especially sheriffs, who are part of the Oath Keepers, right? And what you're talking about specifically, this internal report that the FBI came out with more than a decade ago during the Obama administration, was that there was a white supremacist problem in law enforcement. That came out over a decade ago, but it was hush-hush. Daryl Johnson, as part of the DHS in 2009, came out with a report about the radicalization of the right wing and right-wing movements, and how this is festering, not in just law enforcement, but also in right-wing communities. That report within the DHS was also quashed because Republicans thought it would hurt them ahead of the elections. And for Obama and Democrats, in order to pass through Obamacare, they're like, okay, we'll scratch your back, you scratch our back. So we've known about this, Pete, for like 13 years.
Well, a lot of people have known about it for their entire lives.
Because Black people have known about it since forever. Same with Indigenous Americans. But I'm talking about these. And another report came out, as I mentioned in the piece that came out a couple of weeks ago, where I interviewed, Frank Figluzzi, former FBI, Mike German, former FBI guy, that like the FBI itself has known about this and has actually not been open and transparent about it. And thankfully, Congressman Raskin called them out on it, that like this has been a problem. And so the question then is, who's watching The Watchmen? Yeah. How come we're not cleaning up house? And you're going against the right-wing MAGA movement. And the piece that went kind of viral, came out 2 days ago, where I said it's time to call the MAGA movement a national security threat. Well, there's also a national security threat within national security. And the reason why they get away with it is because A, it's white conservatives, and also B, it's law enforcement. And you could always talk about this. You could always give this analogy with everything, especially with the Trump rally, where he straight up did the QAnon theme, and friggin' like a cult, they all, saluted. This just happened like 2 days ago. Yeah. QAnon is a domestic terror threat, according to the FBI internal memo in 2019. And now you have QAnon candidates running who will be in Congress in 2023. And the former president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen, is doing QAnon slogans and rallies and signatures at his rally and at Truth Social. And so the question then is, if this was Muslims and Black folks, what would happen? We already know. We have the war on terror. So it's a frightening time, and it's one of those things where I want people to keep the focus on it, because this should have been huge news. But this friggin' queen died, and she just does not get buried. Just bury this woman finally, so we can move on.